I made it without falling, which is great. I'm so glad y'all are here tonight. Thank you so much for coming. Like Zach said, my name is Ollie Shannon. I have been a social justice advocate in Boise for 17 years, half of my life. In high school, I learned how to citizen lobby, to walk into my state house and engage with my elected officials. When I was 16 years old, one of them yelled that he was my worst enemy. The phrase echoed through the marble hallways. Now, this was a phrase that I'd heard time and time again, at school, in music, on TV, but hearing it from an elected official who was meant to protect me really hit home. Growing up in Boise has been hard and rewarding at the same time. I've been physically and verbally assaulted because of my sexual orientation and gender identity, but at the same time, some amazing people taught me how to stand up for others, and in the process, I learned how to stand up for myself. This thirst for knowledge was a springboard that began my educational odyssey, first at the College of Western Idaho and then here at Boise State University. As a student who was returning to school, I was very nervous about what the environment of my classrooms would be. If I would be comfortable adding to classroom discussions, engaging in class, talking to my fellow students. As it turns out, at first, I wasn't. I was terrified. I cried every day. But I did it knowing that I could. This experience made me think about other students and wonder if they were having the same experiences that I did. This all began to change when I took my first cultural anthropology class. The way that anthropology uses a holistic lens to look at the world really connected with me. And I will never forget the day my professor came, sat down next to me after class, and kindly asked what pronouns I used. While this may seem like a small act, it was an act that showed that I was not invisible, that people like me deserve to have their identities respected, and that I was safe in her classroom. This was a watershed moment for me. It changed the course of my life. Let me say that again. It changed the course of my life. As faculty, you have the opportunity to do this for students every day. You probably do every semester, sometimes without knowing it. Now, I'm a person who thinks that I want to change the world and make it as good as I can. So, with this information, I began to think about things in anthropology that I could use to develop some activities for professors to use in their classrooms so that they could have the opportunity to have moments like those more often. The first thing that I came up with was color categorization, something that a lot of people take for granted, probably don't think about on a daily basis. So, let's talk about color categorization for a minute. Imagine, if you will, a color wheel. Or you don't have to, because I've got one for you. Imagine, if you will, a color wheel. If free from vision issues, our eyes take in the same array of colors, but the way that we process them through our culture and language is very different. Now, let's do a little experiment. Look at these colors. If you look at row 31 to 35, we can all probably agree that they're shades of purple, yeah? Cool. What about this one? Now, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated to have unanimous agreement. Some of you might be thinking that this color is pink. Some of you might be thinking that it's purple. What if I told you that it is actually a unique color called magenta? Now that we have decided and explored that color is culturally defined, I'd like you to take a moment and humanize this concept with me. Let's think about gender. Gender is also socially defined. Now, my thought is that as people begin to consciously think about things that are socially defined, they tend to become less ethnocentric. Now, I'm going to ask you to turn your attention to language for a moment. Language, coded-in language, is much more than vocabulary and syntax. Coded-in language is the scaffolding that culture is built upon. Looking into research, there was a study conducted in China with bilingual children who spoke both Chinese, either Mandarin or Cantonese, and English. This study asked children questions about their day in both languages. The results found that the children, when asked about their day in Chinese, tended to use more cooperative terms like my family and us and we. And they also identified things within themselves that were cooperative as their best aspects. Now, the children, when they were asked in English, tended to use more independent pronouns like I and me, and identified things within themselves as the best that were independent. Now, as we think about this, we can begin to see that not only is different languages coded in multi and bilingual people's brains, but perhaps culture is as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the makerspace on campus. It's at the Boise State Library. If you don't know what a makerspace is, it is a physical space on campus where students have access to emerging technology, where they are encouraged to be creative and collaborative. Now, the students in the makerspace really, really are amazing because they believe that vulnerability is a great asset to have. They believe that bringing diverse perspectives to the table helps all of us do better. In this space, not only is it okay if one student sees pink, one student sees purple, and the third sees magenta, it is wholly celebrated as bringing diverse perspectives. The makerspace is radically inclusive. I want to see more spaces on our campus that are radically inclusive. What they do in the makerspace can be translated into your classrooms. Now, I'm super excited to be here tonight, mostly because I am no longer afraid to come to school. I don't cry every day, and I know that I can use my knowledge to empower other students and other faculty to do great things on this campus. Are you interested in making your classrooms a place where someone like me would feel safe? Can you imagine a whole university of students that feel safe and are empowered? If you can, I've got some tools for you. On the board is my Dropbox. There are activities that I have put together with my experience in research for you to use in whole or in part in your classroom. These activities, like I said earlier, have been developed to help you help your students on their educational odysseys. If you are not a robot and haven't had this memorized yet, come talk to me after. I will put you on a list and add you to the Dropbox. These are open source activities, so I hope that you can start using them tomorrow. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.